I love The Body. I discovered The Body through a disturbing music iceberg. Their album I Shall Die Here is potentially their most known, but any one of their albums matches that quality and tone. I was limping home from work on the verge of losing it, but putting on The Body is so fucking cathartic. No other goddamn band has a sound that fits the tone of being in pain. Their form of industrial doom metal fits perfectly. While I Shall Die Here gives off the tone of apocalyptic doom, albums like I've Seen All I Need to See, No One Deserves Happiness, and Christ's Redeemers are fantastic depictions of loss, pain, and despair through rage. Through industrial doom metal paired with swaths of noise. Which is why I'm not talking about them. The Body collaborated with black metal band Sandworm and created a brilliant split LP. Hi everybody, turns out I can't fucking read, and originally when I wrote this I said, oh, it's the guy from Sandworm and the guy from The Body. No, it's Steven Vallot, who has nothing to do with the Sandworm. I fucking mixed it up when I was looking through. All you need to know is the guy is, well, he's in Dead Times. Came together and formed Dead Times, the second band with that name on Bandcamp. Dead Times is a combination of a bunch of obscure genres, which means you're probably going to be recommended it by somebody annoying. Today is my turn. Because of that, it's sort of hard to pinpoint where Dead Times fits in. You may think, does it matter? Do we need to box them in? Not really, but it does matter when describing the fucking sound. Listening to the album, you hear a lot of those genres, especially darkwave, but not any particular one. You especially hear the near incomprehensible screams. The Body is not a band I listen to for their lyrics, for the record. It's mainly that suppressive sound that makes that album. The unhinged rage and the violent screams. Oh, screams, man. By the way, I am in no way able to decipher the singing styles of vicious black metal avant-garde noise, so I will only try to infer the lyrics and make it very clear I don't know them. I'm trying my best. The opener to the album, Rosewater, is a collage of violent shrieks which blow up in a wall of harsh noise. It begins with a distorted chorus for what appears to be music for a funeral. What follows is a church bell played over another wall of low distorted bass, along with a pad. That pad actually gave me that sense of darkwave or coldwave, potentially even vaporwave. It certainly gives the track a very cold and huskisk feeling, but also a nebulous sound that makes it feel distant and corporeal. It sounds like defeat. Their teeth are spears and Indian swords. The shrieks in the lyrics are raspy and sharp, where the lyrics, from what I can decipher because those bastards didn't put the lyrics anywhere, no, not even on the vinyl I bought. They did put a frowny face though. Themselves seem to be about having your freedom or humanity taken away, forced to cower in desolation and betrayal. Given the title, it's a track of being pushed away by the animalistic desires of people only interested in driving you to shame. Followed next by an industrial and electronic track filled with mechanical gears and machinery. It's surprisingly catchy on top of being harsh and distorted. In the latter half of the breakdown, a high-pitched drill plays as the vocalist screams, becoming more muted and inconsolable beneath the instruments. I did also miss a Greek reference in the title. The next track continues that harsh death rattle, which slams down into an explosion of bass. Behind it, a gentle and vaguely angelic chorus plays, though transposed into a weird layer of dread and worry. In a manic state, worried of a relapse after fighting a sickness, he became paranoid and worried. What came out were paintings hidden from the public, drawing morbid and disturbing thoughts in his mind. I assume the track is about that very fear. Losing the sense of yourself as the people around you become monstrous and terrifying. I and Thou contains distant and nauseous leads behind the distorted death rattles, which continue to slam down and bloat. The screams in this track are a lot more raspy and painful, with screams of agony following after, almost sounding sickly and desperate as they plead to nobody. Below it, bellowing leads loom above. Given the title, I would guess this is a song of personal lament and torture. The late stage of a complete meltdown. The following track contains shouts of distant riots and disorder over a gentle guitar strumming. A synth plays on top of it, giving a vague sense of odd hope and disassociation. For once, that brutal bass is gone and dead. It seems like for a moment there is peace in the mind. Despite the looming chaos below clawing back its control, there is a moment of brevity. While the album still retains that oppressed and dark sound, the brief folk and brighter sounds are a good eye of a hurricane. Pieta begins with another harmony of voices in the distance as that harsh industrial slam returns. The lead vocals echo and sound loose and out of control. The claustrophobic sound results in a suffocating anguish, as the screams are far more distorted and loud in the mix. The noise is far more brutal here as the thoughts and cries are suppressed by the miserable noise. A sinister synth plays through moments of clarity, almost like some kind of rapture. The title comes from a depiction of the Virgin Mary holding Jesus, once brought down from the cross, tortured, and dead. Be Glad begins with an electronic lead which reminds me a lot of Yume Nikki. Come to think of it, this entire album does, which is really fucking weird. The vocals are able to rise above the bass, which is a lot faster and more mechanical, all while that oddly gentle electronic lead plays again and again. A loud cymbal plays and echoes through the song as it reaches a climax. It ends with the most clear sound you will hear, a gentle and slow acoustic guitar playing the song off. The harsh bass seems to be in control of the track. Strange moans and laughs are heard in the distance through industrial grinds before that familiar pad begins once again. In a quiet moment of the track, there seems to be lyrics of some kind of need. I can't tell exactly, though I get the impression it's about something broken craving for something to aid it. Even then, again, I am not able to decipher metal singing. Though there are stanzas of control and suppression towards the end in some kind of collapse, it seems the dark haze and grunge will continue. That was intense. Listening to this the first time was a lot. First time I heard it, I simply thought it was a fairly artsy, dark album. I loved it for that reason, but I didn't think there was much to think about it because, well, I don't think. The sound, the use of musical motifs such as the destructive bass, the allusions to philosophy and perturbed art, the pads and leads, the harmonies, and the grim mood. This is an album of complete solitude turned into a manic breakdown. To me. The allusion to Francisco Goya, Pieta and Mary grieving over her son who was violently punished, and finally at Metaxu. From my little research, because I'm not a fucking scholar, Metaxu comes from the Greek word Metaxy, which comes from our translation of Plato's recordings, Plato's recountings of Socrates' bullshit, along with French philosopher Simone Weil. How do all these philosophers become anarchists? Mainly, in our modern interpretations, it seems to refer to the communication man has with faith, mainly God, but also ourselves. How we communicate with our faith and put trust into it, how we connect to our mind and our fellow man. This is way over my head. Listen, I tried. Dead Times, to me, is about the loss of control of the mind. The link to the mind, the emotions we experience in dread and meltdown, and the grief of a saint towards who was supposed to be the redeemer of man, it creates an image of cruelty and control. The album reflects a complete breakdown in the narrator and their inability to take control of their disassociation. It is an album of manic paranoia and desolation. Of extreme loneliness, with only brief glimpses into reality, but still drawn back into that dark mood. Goya's paintings weren't just disturbing, they were the macabre thoughts of a man losing his mind, meant to stay hidden and unseen, even depicting the horror and trauma of the very gods which watch over and control our lives. Mary holds her own son. Though a god reborn to fulfill duties, he was still her son. She grieves over him after his torture and agony. The original sculpture may have lost its color in time, but the expression of pain, grief, and empathy is still present. Metaxu, from my interpretation, is about a person's connection to themselves. Again, I didn't read a lot, I just, their culture, their people, their identity, their blessings, and their faith. When a person does not have that connection, they are not a person anymore. The sounds of the album are monotonous, repetitive, and suppressive. The harsh industrial bass seems to only get louder and louder through the album as the dread and despair consumes the pieces. The gentle electronics invoke that lonely tone of being in a dream, but also kind of being in some dreadful nightmare. Despite the desolate environment being too meek to be anything ethereal, even if it's not in your control, it is still an escape from a bleak and miserable world. The first glimpse of religious harmony we receive is far away and unattainable. Later, it becomes twisted and unsettled. Either the depiction is out of some kind of rapture or eternal turmoil over the person losing their faith, seeing people as monsters who stalk and put them in their place, showing their jagged and curved teeth like displaying weapons, leaving them to only live in dark isolation, driving them to cold withdrawal and grief. Brief moments of gentle and soft noises are merely the glimpses of humanity. It could also reflect the monotonous cycles the narrator finds themselves in, trying to find any kind of peace as they lose their sense of humanity and worth. Dead Times is a disturbing noise album of anguish. I thought I wouldn't do much research. By the end of this, once again, I've learned more than I expected I would. Even then, I don't like using other people's words in place of my own. This album is a portrayal of complete withdrawal and connection, and disconnection. The person lives beneath a world which mutes their cries for help at every moment, with people living only eager to continue to hold them down, resulting in cycles of depressive attitudes and actions. Unlike the more horrific depictions of desolation in the body, I find Dead Times the perfect poetic depiction of losing your mind and soul. The name itself of the album and title, referring to a period of life in which you do not live.